Sequel, prequels, threequels. Hollywood especially has learned that a successful original is as good a money tree as long as you have fingers to count on. But despite the sad tendency of some studios to punt on second down, they're not all bad. These are our picks for the top 5 sequels of all time. The most common flavor of sequel is probably the second story sequel. The characters are the same and so is the world, and the conflict is probably related, but the story is undeniably separate. The original ended, and with it, its plot. It could have stood alone, but now we're back for another go-round. This could be from checking in 9 years later, as in Before Sunset, or with the emergence of another threat, as in Aliens. It's Evil Dead 2, or Blade Runner 2049, or T2, or The Dark Knight, or The Bride of Frankenstein, or sent up wonderfully in 22 Jump Street. It's the follow-ups to Toy Story, or Mad Max, or Raiders of the Lost Ark, or however many Godzillas they've made by now. But come on, for our first slot here, could you even imagine us picking something other than The Godfather Part 2?
Where do you have to go?
Just have to do business.
I could help you.
Someday you will.
Godfather 2 is kind of a double whammy here because it's simultaneously an awesome sequel and an even awesomer prequel, alternating between the story of Michael Corleone 5 years post-Ascension and his father Vito as he makes it in America, coalescing into a sandwich of awesomeness that some have argued is even better than the original. We wouldn't go quite that far, but it really says something when you're compared favorably to one of the best American films of all time. Godfather 2 takes the characters of the original saga and extends their emotional arc to double its depth, while telling a story that is very nearly independent to the original. And as an extra bonus cool fact, The Godfather Part 2 is the first ever Part 2. No previous film had used numbering to denote its sequelness, ever. Paramount apparently had misgivings about the idea, worrying that audiences might not want to buy tickets for a continuation of a story they had already seen, but man were they wrong. Now, not all sequels are semi-standalone vehicles, nor even are all originals. Another type of second entry belongs to the multi-part story, a serialized segment amidst a larger arc that was designed from the outset. Those most often come from vast multi-part source materials, novel series and comic book runs, and grand epics. The best of the bunch include the likes of Kill Bill Volume 2, The Bourne Ultimatum, Superman 2, and Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban. The original 2 sequels of the Star Wars trilogy are kinda tricky to categorize here, since Episode 4 was originally just a standalone Star Wars that was then retconned into the first of a trilogy, or a trilogy of trilogies rather, making The Empire Strikes Back a follow-up belonging in our first category, while Return of the Jedi is solidly a multi-parter landing here. And with Empire out of the picture, we don't think Jedi can quite edge out our second pick here, which is actually going to go to Lord of the Rings: The Two Towers.
Gandalf. Yes. That was what they used to call me. Gandalf the Grey. That was my name.
Gandalf.
I am Gandalf the White. And I come back to you now. At the turn of the tide.
The Lord of the Rings installments are such a rare breed in that not only were they designed and planned together from day one, but they were actually all shot simultaneously, as if Peter Jackson were making just one great big 9-hour movie, which we think in his mind he kinda was. The entire Lord of the Rings trilogy was shot in one big 274-day chunk, and while Fellowship and Return are each fantastic in their own right, we think the second entry is maybe our favorite, and that actually means a whole hell of a lot. It has every reason to be the awkward middle child. The Two Towers gets none of the fun character introductions and world building, or any of the 300 climaxes of the finale. And yet it manages to turn a storyline filled with a whole lot of trudging into one epic 3-hour-long chase, introduce the world to Andy Serkis's Gollum, and cap it off with one of the finest battle scenes ever shot along the way. And the cohesion of its conception and authorship really makes a difference here, as it carries in a certain momentum from its predecessor and allows for a kind of semi-resolution in its climax with a few balls still in the air. One need only sit down for a binge-watching marathon to see how brilliantly it fits in and how thoroughly it benefits for it. Of course, sometimes sequels are more than just one rung on a single ladder. Some of them slot into entire franchise universes in complex, not entirely linear ways. Consider The Avengers, which is like a Nexus Point sequel of a half dozen different individual starting points. Or Wonder Woman, or Thor Ragnarok, Captain America Winter Soldier, Star Trek First Contact, or The Wrath of Khan. Rogue One, Wes Craven's New Nightmare, or Goldfinger. They all fit into a franchise context that's wider than would be suggested by just calling them simple sequels. However, if there's a franchise that's done this the best, it's gotta be X-Men, which has just gotten better and better, took a really fascinating turn in Days of Future Past, and used its franchise weight to immense power in our next pick, Logan.
They're waiting for you at the Statue of Liberty.
Statue of Liberty was a long time ago, Charles, a long time. There are no new mutants, understand? There's been a new one born in 25 years, not anywhere. I always thought we were part of God's plan. Maybe we were God's mistake.
What a disappointment you are.
Boy, are we just so thrilled to be able to talk about Logan here, because it is, to our mind, pretty much the best superhero film ever shot. Up there with Unbreakable, The Incredibles, and The Dark Knight, head and shoulders above everything else. And I don't think we've had an opportunity on this show to gush about it yet. But it's not just a great franchise entry sequel and a great superhero flick, it's a superlative superhero movie largely because of where it fits into the franchise and how it operates boldly within it. Logan takes this character of Wolverine we've all been living with and watching save the world for over a decade and a half now, and uses all of our emotional investment in him to a completely unprecedented end. It trades saving the world for saving just one person, yet shrinking the stakes actually makes us feel more deeply. And while it's certainly a good movie in its own right, it is 100 times more powerful for the cinematic universe it does it in, putting the weight of 8 full features behind its impact. Some sequels bring us endings, but others bring us new beginnings. Maybe they're a soft reboot or a changing of the guard, but they take an old series and add a new entry that spins everything in a modern direction, breathing in new life. This was Batman Begins, or Rise of the Planet of the Apes, or Jurassic World. This was Force Awakens, or Fury Road. They acknowledge their ancestry while drastically asserting their individuality, restructuring the series in a sort of stylistic Chapter 13 bankruptcy. And the sequel that does this best is our next pick, the reboot to defeat all reboots, Creed.
I want you to train me. All right, I need somebody solid, and who else better to go to? All right, you at least owe me that.
I can tell the way you talk. You've been to school, so I figure you got some brains. Why would you want to pick a fighter's life when you don't have to? If Apollo was around, he would tell you that too.
Well, he ain't around. I've been fighting my whole life. I ain't got a choice.
It's always about a choice. I was in the ring. I saw how it went down. That fight should have been stopped. I should have stopped it.
Maybe he wanted to go out like a fighter. Maybe you did exactly what he wanted.
I think he'd rather be here, talking with you.
Ryan Coogler's visionary spin-off of the Rocky franchise is a Hollywood primer on how to pass a torch, pulling off the circus high-wire act of balancing franchise awareness, fan service, and homage to the original with a fearless new direction and vision for the future. Creed does equal justice to the chapter it is closing with the new ground it breaks. It wisely spreads its roots deep amidst its forebears by shifting its focus to not just a new fighter, but the son of Apollo Creed, the original adversary turned ally turned figure of grief. This gives him a built-in history and one that we immediately understand, catapulting us into a necessarily complex dynamic between our leads, Michael B. Jordan as the future of the franchise, and Sylvester Stallone, fully embracing his age as its past, near his career best. It is bold both in how it diverges from the original series and how it retreads familiar ground, culminating in a finale that will make any original Rocky fan wax nostalgic in full view of the exciting trajectory it suggests for its inevitable follow-up. And finally, topping out our list at number 5, we want to look at one of the oddest forms of the sequel, the Sidequel. This is a sequel in maybe the loosest sense, the distant cousin of its original. Yeah, maybe they share some essential DNA, but it doesn't continue the same storyline or even necessarily follow the same characters. It takes a totally new tack with a couple familiar elements for context. Think 28 Weeks Later, or Prometheus, or The Animatrix, or 10 Cloverfield Lane, or again with Rogue One. We want to briefly mention the spiritual sequel here, a follow-up that shares only in a thematic or tonal thrust, with sequels like Everybody Wants Some, Three Colors Red, Hot Fuzz, or Legend of the Drunken Master. And it's tempting to count for a few dollars more in The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly for all taking place in the same universe with the same man with no name, but unfortunately that was more of a marketing ploy than anything. And he also had a name. Or 3 different ones, rather. But fortunately for us, recent years have been kind to us when it comes to sidequels, giving us our final and very spoiler-filled pick, Split, which, seriously, is gonna be a spoiler. Not a major one, but you'll definitely be sad if you let us ruin it. So pause this, go watch it, we'll still be here when you get back.
Beast is a sentient creature who represents the highest form of human's evolution. He believes the time of ordinary humanity is over. I hope this makes you feel calm. You will be in the presence of something greater. I was gonna ask for your last shirt, but I won't. Because tonight is a sacred night. It's almost over.
Shyamalan is back, and we never thought we would be saying that, so excitedly or unironically. He's quietly worked his way out of director's jail in recent years, onto parole in 2015 with The Visit, and fully to freedom with this year's redemptive Split, rejoining civil society as an A-list thriller director with a keen sense of the psychological. Split is worth twice the price of admission for James McAvoy's performance alone. He has moments of subtly shifting physical nuance that literally made us gasp in the theaters. Split is a bit of an undercover sequel until its final moments, saving its in-universe connection for the subject of a more restrained than usual famous namesakey final M. Night twist. But it is oh so worth it. Thrilling in what the twist tells us will come next more than how it recontextualizes what came before, we are excited by the idea that it is a sidequel itself, delighting in the reveal that it takes place in the universe alongside another one of our favorite superhero flicks. It engages in the conversation about sequels, about how movies can overlap and create their own expectations for what happens next. It ignites our imaginations about not just the future of the story universe, but what will eventually happen in ours, the production of another sequel. It's far removed from the plot gimmickry of his past sins and nuanced and empathetic despite a few odd reviews to the contrary. But it's also brilliantly meta in how it slots beside another story in our imagination, and amidst the director's oeuvre in general, which is why it's one of our favorite sequels of all time. So those are our picks for the best sequels of all time. What do you think? Do you agree? Do you disagree? Do we leave out some of your favorite sequels? Are you going to be so bold as to say there's a sequel out there that actually surpasses the original? Let us know in the comments below, and be sure to subscribe to CineFix for more movie lists.